Today on Pastors on Porn, coronavirus and the end of the world. Well, I don't know about you, but it feels like these days we are in March 2020 and we're in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. It feels like we're living in a movie. My brother WhatsApped the family yesterday and said that he just watched the movie Pandemic to get some suggestions on how to cope in times like this. I'm not sure if that was the best scenario. I've heard that people have stopped drinking Corona beer, as if that's going to help. But we are living in a time of crisis, a time of fear, and a time of anxiety as we face something that hasn't really been seen since the Spanish flu, apparently at the beginning of the 20th century. Who knows how this is going to play out? My son, I was talking to him yesterday. He called me up, and he lives in the big city about an hour and a half away. And his opinion is, we're only a few weeks away in North America from the sort of disruptions that we're seeing taking place in Europe and Italy. I certainly hope not, but, I wouldn't be surprised these days as to what we're facing. A couple nights ago, I watched a great Trevor Noah sketch, and he was talking about some of the crazy things online that people were being told to do to keep away or to prevent the coronavirus from infecting them. Things like drinking bleach. That one would really help. Garlic, now that was another online cure. Now that might be good for vampires or zombies, maybe, like we talked about a couple weeks ago. And the third one was masturbation. He said that was also a really good online. Apparently that's another thing that will cure you or keep it away. And I'm not sure how that works. Maybe lots of Purell or Vaseline or something maybe keeps your hands clean. I don't know. But anyways, the bottom line is we are in interesting times. We're in a time of major disruption. So many of our churches in our community closed yesterday because they were over 250. That's kind of the current level that the health experts in our province have asked anybody over 250 to cancel their services. We are not at that point. So we met yesterday, and but we also are figuring out how many churches are figuring out how to go online with Facebook or YouTube. So we're in the middle of that. I remember, probably the last biggest crisis I remember was, the attack on Twin Towers. And I remember our kids were really young and coming down and seeing those towers go down. And I remember my kids were really ripped off because they couldn't watch cartoons that morning because all of the stations were covering, the attack on Twin Towers. And I remember telling this to my kids. They were, 6, 7, 8, 10, I forget. And I just said to them, this will change everything. And my kids are like, yeah, right, Dad. But I'm saying, no, you'll look back on this time and you go, this is really something which will be pivotal in our history. And, I think that we're in those times. I read one thing that was interesting after the Twin Towers. So many people came back to church. The churches saw a large increase in attendance in the short weeks that followed that as people in a time of crisis looked to their family, looked to community for solace, and looked to them for support. And of course, the interesting thing here is those very structures are being threatened as we are being told to not meet together. So that is a real crisis and threat in itself. Many people are having to work from home. Many people are being asked to self-quarantine. Right now, if you cross from Canada into the U.S., Washington State has a much bigger outbreak than even BC right now. You are being asked to self-quarantine for 14 days, when you go down into Washington State. And, as an introvert, me and my wife sometimes joked, please self-quarantine us. It sounds like an introvert's dream. We're 14 days, I can't go anywhere. And, but, in one sense, it feels like a break. She's a teacher, and whether or not school, they're on spring break now, how long classes are going to be canceled for, we'll see. But at the same time, nobody wants the type of sickness and death that we see going on in Europe right now and what happened in China, especially among the vulnerable. So the idea of self-quarantining, having alone time, it only goes so far. Then you realize the fear that people are having, especially with, people who have suppressed immune systems and those kind of things. Here's the bottom line, especially for us in ministry who feel vulnerable. This whole podcast is around people who struggle with sexual brokenness. I know that in times like this, whenever our routines are thrown off, we feel vulnerable. Whenever we are bored, we feel vulnerable. Whenever we are stressed, we are vulnerable. And whenever we become isolated, we are vulnerable. Do you get the idea? And all of those things would say to a person who is trying to find equilibrium around the area of sexual brokenness, this is a time, I think, of heightened vulnerability. And especially in ministry right now, in this time of real social dislocation and increased stress, I think it has the real potential for us to have the wheels come off ministry. Because the wheels, I think, can come off in our personal life. All of the support structures that we have relied on to stay out of trouble, like busyness, and over-involvement in people's lives, or all those things, may no longer be within easy reach of us. If you are used to working, and out of the house, and now you are being asked to work from home, how is that going to feel? All of a sudden, if your kids are not at school and they're at home all day, how is that going to feel? If you have used work to, in one sense, avoid your wife and your kids, that is not going to work anymore. So this is a time, I think, of real heightened vulnerability for us. And in a time when isolation is almost being mandated, that's the very opposite of what we need as we seek to come out of our addiction and walk in a new pattern of health and freedom. So I just want to say in this time, obviously we are looking, at an uncertain future, and at this time it can really just tweak all of our impulses, all of our temptations. And I want to just say a few comments that I think are important to keep in mind. Number one, I think more than ever we need to press into our relationship with God. This morning in my quiet time, I read this whole thing where Balaam, or is it Balak, he is being asked, I think it's Balaam, being asked to curse the children of Israel. And then it says he realized that God was determined to bless the people of Israel. And this morning, I sat with that and said, God is determined to bless me. That is a posture. That is something that I want to spend this day living in, the realization that God is determined to bless me today. That's just an example of even a little bit of time. I just got back from a walk. It was a cold morning. It was almost freezing out. And at about 32 degrees, it was clear sky, there was some wind, just getting out for a walk and exercising, and praying and listening to a great podcast. All of those things, pressing into God, pressing into recovery, getting the exercise we need. If we're at home for a long period of time, some of us are going to start to go stir crazy. And, the things we reach for when we get bored, the things we reach for when we want a bit of a pick-me-up, those might be the very things that will derail us. I think it's a time and an opportunity to reconnect with our wives, reconnect with our families. I think that's absolutely crucial. Some of us maybe look at the state of our families and go, we've been so busy. We always think about holiday times as being a time where we make up for all of those things. But here's where I think we can say, what can I do if I might not be able to travel? A lot of trips are being canceled right now for spring break. But what are some fun ways that I could begin to really re-engage with my kids? Not just veg out, but really find some fun ways to re-engage. Maybe it's a chance to rekindle your sex life. Now, there's something I know everyone's ears, the guys perk up. But, if you're young, maybe, I think there's going to probably be a huge baby boom in about 9 months from now, just from all the people at home. You might not want to tell your wife that. That might not encourage her, but, or she might really like that. I don't know. But even if you're older, one of my favorite books is a book called The Passionate Marriage, with this guy with this crazy name called David Schnarch. There's a great name for you. But he says that he believes your 50s and 60s hold the potential for the best sex of your life. I'm 59, so I'm right in the middle of that, and I'm pressing into it. So, but here's the point. I think people's sex life is it's like the canary in the coal mine. It's the part of the iceberg above the water. But if there's any problems, areas in your relationship, if you have not been building intimacy in terms of sensuality and building a close connection, your sex life is going to really be pretty meager, and it's going to be pretty lifeless. And I would say it's even an opportunity for you to begin to reconnect at an emotional level with your partner, to be able to reconnect and really do some of those under the water things, so that maybe even your sex life can be rekindled. I'm very careful to say I'm not saying the reasons for your struggle with porn are because of your sex life. It goes much deeper than that, and that is horrible advice that some women have heard, that all you need to do is have sex with your husband and he won't struggle. Please don't hear me saying that. But I am saying that this can be an opportunity to have either the cracks in your marriage and your relationship really revealed, or for you to really do a serious renovation on the state of your relationship with the one that you've pledged your life to. I just want to end by saying this. I think if there ever was a time for us as leaders and ministers and pastors and people who are providing hope and shepherding for people, if there was ever a time that we needed to be clear-headed, it is now. If there was ever a time where we needed to have courage, it is now. And I just want to hope that this is, this season of dislocation, this season of what feels chaotic and uncertain, actually can be an opportunity for you to actually propel you into real changes in your life. It doesn't have to take you out. And I think that there is an opportunity if we really realize, okay, God, what are you doing? What are the times we're living in? And what do you want to do in my life to make me a better person, make me a better father, make me a better husband, and make me a better leader as we move forward into whatever it is that you have for us? So towards that end, I want to say I'm just praying and hoping that you find God's peace. Remember when Jesus came to a group of fearful disciples after his resurrection that were hidden away in a room, his very first words to them were, "Peace be unto you." I just think that was a great thing for us to remember. The very first thing they needed to do was have that message of peace. When the angels appeared to people, oftentimes their very first words were, "Fear not." And I think we need to hear that as well. So I'm hoping that you can be that source of comfort and peace. God can use you in the lives of other people in this time. Stay connected. Don't become isolated. Don't become disconnected. Help your people become connected as well. We're in a great place with technology for us to be able to do that. Let me just say this as well. I would love to hear from you. My email is bandofbrothers@gmail.com. at shaw.ca. And the website is bandofbrothers.care, where you can go on and you can hear more about my story. I want to give you a bit of a sneak preview. My next podcast, God willing, I will be interviewing one of my recovery heroes, the man that I would probably say has done more to turn the corner in my life, just in a practical way, than anybody else. So I'm just going to leave that as a bit of a sneak preview, and I'm just hoping and praying that all goes well in my interview tomorrow. So towards that, walk in God's peace, stay safe, and be clear-headed and self-control as you look to the future. God bless you.